In a deprived, crime-ridden district of New York known as Hell's Kitchen, two down-at-heel moonshiners enter a dockside tavern with barely the price of a drink between them. The first, Thomas Mason, a planter, recently dispossessed of his lands in Jamaica, and Alfred Aybrook, a chemist by training, but an illicit distiller by occupation. Both men had run afoul of the bootleggers of the infamous gangland of the Five Corners. As they pondered empty glasses and their bleak future, a grizzled old salt, sitting alone at the next table, offered them a drink from his stoneware bottle. Their senses were immediately assailed by the hitherto unknown flavor of this wonderful ambrosial drink. Inquiring as to its nature and origin, they were regaled with tales of an island paradise in the Far East called Ceylon. Especially intriguing was the story that was part myth, part legend, and part fact of Arrack, the spirit of the kings of Candy, distilled from toddy, the fermented sap of the coconut flower. Seeing no future in the New World, they had their last view of New York from the stern of the clipper and jumped at a chance of finding new adventure and the source of the drink that had so captivated them. A rough 3-month voyage at sea ensued, traveling across the known world and landing on the sandy shores of Old Ceylon, an emerald island off the coast of the British Raj. Living off Mason's modest inheritance, the two worked in the bars of the booming colonial city and on this very floor as waiters of the Colombo Club. They continued their quest for the secret of what they now knew as Arrack. They made contact with both licit and illicit distillers, but none of what they tasted quite matched what they were looking for. Not being novices in the mysteries of distillation, they somehow acquired a copper still of their own, and with much trial and error, produced a passably good product, but still not that elixir they sought. The sale of this brew barely kept body and soul in the same place. They were again staring at financial ruin. But one day, fate intervened. Aybrook, on a visit to Kandy, had a chance meeting with a singular man whose family had served the Kandian aristocracy in the capacity of distillers before the British Raj. Invited to the man's home, he was served a glass of golden liquid that he immediately recognized as that nectareous spirit he and Mason sought. His host took him on a short walk to his ancient still, concealed in the forest. There, he was initiated into the secrets of the art of making true Arrack, the spirit of Old Ceylon. It was a process that could not be hurried, like the making of fine wine. Each step had to be exactly right. The palms had to be healthy, the clay of the right consistency, and the sugar had to go, as did the oak casks, and the work of time was crucial, maturing neither too short nor too long. It was several years of trial and error before he and Mason were able to reproduce the product they had sought for so long, blended to a strength of 94 proof and filled into stoneware bottle. Mason brought 200 bottles right here to the Colombo Club for a tasting, and legend has it that a Scotsman wept. The 200 bottles were snapped up, and Old Reserve was born. Sadly, Old Reserve's success in export markets came to an abrupt end, with the British colonial authorities wanting to protect their Scotch whisky industry, imposing heavy excise tariffs on Arrack. At the turn of the century, the world plunged into chaos, precipitating 2 world wars, resulting in the dissolution of the British Empire, and following that, Ceylon's independence as a colony. Ceylon then became Sri Lanka, but much of the regulatory structure imposed by the departing British remained in place, including the excise department, which continued to be an impediment in the progress of the Arrack industry. Unlike the whiskey, brandy and rum industries of other countries, no clear definition of Sri Lanka's national drink was established, nor were high-quality standards established. With a base level requirement of 3% coconut spirit, these products were still allowed to be called Arrack and bore no resemblance to the fabled Spirit of Kings. And while Aybrook and Mason's successors held true to the purity of traditional production, the economics of the situation forced the reduction of strength from 94 proof to 68 proof. So Old Reserve still ranked as the preeminent example of the Ceylon Arrack blender's art. One day, fate intervened again. Antonio Palapiano, Italy's maestro mixologist from the famed Jerry Thomas project, during his research discovered that the first punch ever made was from Arrack. In his search for the perfect Arrack, his focus came on Sri Lanka. Sending his colleague Simona to investigate, she soon made contact with international distillers, Aybrook and Mason's successors, and the producers of Old Reserve. Several conversations later, the producers of Old Reserve decided to revive the original recipe. And the rest, as they say, is history. Inspired by Antonio's wisdom, we return to the original blends and strengths, last tasted more than 150 years ago, to produce Arrack as it was and Arrack as it should be. Now, endorsed by the Jerry Thomas Project in over 600 cocktail bars and speakeasies in Italy, we proudly present to you today Old Reserve 42 and Old Reserve 47. Sri Lanka's only Arrack, endorsed by the Chef's Guild of Sri Lanka.